Speaking in a virtual room or in a virtual presentation is completely different to speaking from a stage. At least that's how it feels when you stand in front of the camera and start your speech. In this video, I'm going to help you to understand why we feel so different when we speak to cameras and on computers, and how we can go about mastering our digital presentations to be able to communicate effectively and have great virtual presentations. Why is speaking in a digital presentation so different from speaking on stage in front of a crowd? Well, there it sort of begins part of the difference. There's unique challenges to speaking when it comes to a virtual presentation. First of all, you don't have direct audience feedback. Now that can be good and it can be bad. When you're standing on a stage, if you say something funny, mildly humorous, the audience will give you feedback. They'll laugh with you. You can see people's eye contact, whether they're watching the screen. Now, some of the presentation softwares like Zoom allow you to see the participants, but that can be a distraction, looking at them rather than looking at the camera. We also have things like technical glitches. You worry because you can't get direct feedback. You can't even hear the audience, whether the mic is working. Sometimes you can worry that maybe things aren't going the way they should be in the presentation. Maybe the microphone stopped working, or the camera or your internet connection has dropped out. These things can distract you from giving a powerful presentation. On top of that, people's attention spans are far shorter when it comes to being at home in front of their computer or their phone or their TV. It's easy for them to lose attention if you're not engaging them highly. They might wander off, they might start scrolling through Instagram, they might even leave the presentation. It's much harder to get up and walk out of an in-person presentation, feeling embarrassed about walking. If you've ever had to go to the toilet during someone's presentation, you feel awkward about getting up and walking out. But when you're doing it digitally, it's easy just to click exit and leave the presentation if it's not gripping your attention. And as a speaker, you feel that. You feel the pressure of having to keep everybody on board for as long as possible. So these things are unique challenges to presenting virtually, and they can distract us from being able to communicate effectively with our audience. In just a moment, I'm going to show you how you can master your virtual presentations using some really powerful strategies and tips. But before we do that, I want to give you something for hanging out here with me today, and that is a brand new public speakers personality quiz that I've created to help you understand what sort of speaker you are. Now, you might have noticed that some public speakers are really bombastic and loud. They seem to ooze charisma, which is great for them, but maybe you don't feel like that. Maybe you feel quieter and maybe more reserved in the way that you speak. That's definitely me. I see some people and they almost have like an energy and they bounce around. That's not the sort of speaker that I am. I am a little bit more reserved. I like to try to be more impactful in what I say. And that's just my personality as a speaker. And the other person who has loads of energy, that is their personality as a speaker. There are some people who are very analytical, some people who like to entertain. There's all different types of speaking personalities, but we don't always understand what personality we fit and how that affects our public speaking. So what I've done is create a quiz, a personality quiz, that helps you understand what type of speaker you are, so that you can then use that to your advantage in how you present on stage. Just go to my website, www.the-speakersacademy.com/speaker, or go to the description below to find a link to take you to the quiz to find out what type of speaker you are, and then be able to be the best type of speaker you can going forward. So we've established why we find it more difficult to present on a digital stage, but what can we do to improve our presentations? We need to think about where we choose to present from. For example, if we're thinking about us as a presenter, we wouldn't necessarily want to set ourselves up looking directly out a window. Every single time someone moves past a window, a bird flies or something, an airplane, a helicopter, it's going to distract us. We're then going to be doing that rather than focusing on the camera. And when it comes to presenting, looking into the camera is like looking into the eye of the person. So we need to be able to focus on the camera lens. That being said, we maybe want to detach the camera lens from the computer if we can. Maybe we can use a movable webcam, because if we can see ourselves on the screen, we're a bit like peacocks. We're going to be distracted. We're looking at ourselves and how we look like a mirror. And when we do that, we're no longer looking at the camera, so we don't feel like we're making eye contact, and the audience won't feel like we're connecting with them. So we want to be able to basically look directly into the camera. So we don't want any distractions around us, in front of us. So it means we might want to set ourselves up against a wall, looking directly at the wall. You obviously want good lighting. We'll come back to lighting as a key to the setup. So we do need to be near some natural light, a window, or get yourself a ring light or something like that to project light at you. If you don't have any of that and you're in a pinch, get a lamp and put it in front of you so the light is aimed at your face. And then we need to think about what the audience sees. Now, when you think about what the audience sees, is your background distracting? I remember once seeing a speaker, and he was a good speaker, but he had this leery wallpaper that he was against. The wallpaper was chevrons in different colours, purple, yellow, green. It was very, very busy and extremely distracting. And when that happens, the audience then are not focusing on what you're saying. They're distracted by the background. We want to think about maybe what's in the background. You can use those digital background overlays, but they are incredibly distracting. To me anyway. I feel like everybody I've spoken to, and they've had someone who has one of those digital backgrounds where it blurs out or it puts you on Mars or whatever it does, puts you at the beach. They are distracting and they're not necessarily good for the audience. A plain-ish background, something like this maybe, which isn't busy, doesn't distract. I mean, we want to think about what's behind us. You know, I put it there so that the videos look different. But we want to think about what is behind us, and is it going to distract the audience from the message we're presenting? Now, we said about light, we said about wanting light to be reflected at us. We also have to think about when we're presenting. If we're presenting in the middle of winter at 5 o'clock in the evening, it's going to be dark. So we will need light. You may need to get yourself some form of light to put in front of you. Or if it's daytime, set yourself up near a window so you get natural light, turn lights on in the room. Think about the visibility of the audience. Again, we're trying to just remove as many distractions that the audience will have as possible. The natural light is best. If we can get some form of other light directional towards us, that will help us to feel good. It also will diffuse any light coming from the laptop or computer screen that we're ahead of. Now, talking about setup, we want to do some testing. We have to think, we're using technology, and technology sometimes can go a bit awry. Have we rebooted our laptop before we start? We don't want it to crash on us as soon as we load up. That happened to me with a webinar I did once. I started it just 5 minutes before it was going to start. Laptop crashed, took too long to reboot, it was a complete disaster. It's very, very stressful. So check your technology. Make sure that there's no planned updates going on your laptop before you start. Check your webcam works. Check your microphone works. Check your microphone is clear. If I was to use a microphone and the webcam built into my laptop, it would sound awful. So I have a separate camera and a separate microphone for this video, and you need to do the same. Make sure you are clearly visible and clearly heard. So we need to do testing beforehand. Check everything works. When we talk normally about public speaking, we do a lot of talking about checking your presentation, practicing and preparing beforehand. And this, when it comes to a digital presentation, includes running through, getting everything up and running, making sure it all works the way it's supposed to, making sure the way when you're talking, it's all coming out the other side the way you want it to. Now, you can do this by having someone else listen, if possible, and they can give you feedback. Or alternatively, if you don't have someone you could maybe get to listen to your presentation, you can take your presentation, your live Zoom or Google Meets or whatever software you're using, and you can record off of another device, so then you can do a bit of presenting, run through it a little bit, go back, listen, make sure you could be heard, you could be seen. One of the simplest things you can do to make sure you have no technical issues. The last thing you want to do is to be about to give your presentation and you find out your mic or your camera doesn't work or there's something other issue. That's what we have to do. Think about it when a musician plays, they will do a sound check. It's the same sort of thing. You're doing a digital sound check to make sure everything works the way it's supposed to. Next, we want to talk about how we set up the camera specifically, because if you've been in, we had all in 2020 a lot of different digital meetups, digital team meetings. We had digital everything, didn't we, back when we were in 2020. So what you might have noticed is some people have the camera too close, like this, and that's distracting. Or even maybe they're down low. Maybe they're like this, and you think, oh, this is a bit awkward. Maybe they're way too far back, and they're relaxed and chilled out, and this isn't a great way to present to your audience. You're too chilled, you're too far away. When it comes to public speaking through a camera, you need to be the correct distance away. They need to be able to see the majority of your head, and you need to be able to gesture, because you aren't going to get a full body shot. Your arms need to be visible. So think about where you position the camera. If you're too close, you're invading their digital space, and it feels weird and uncomfortable. If they're looking up your nose, the camera's in the wrong place, it's distracting. If you're too far back, you're probably too far away from the microphone, you're too far away from natural light, it's distracting. So spend a bit of time working out where the perfect place to position the camera is, the perfect place for you to present from, so that you can, as I say, get everything from the head, top of your head, down to, around your chest, and you can get your arms in. You might have to lift them up a little bit, but you can get your arms in for gesturing and presentation. Remember, especially with a short attention span, that movement is really key. Next, we want to think about the actual presentation itself. Like when you're presenting on stage, you need to present to your audience in a way that will really connect with them, really engage them from the beginning. If whatever it is you would do on an in-person stage, you need to level it up for a digital presentation. So you need to be a bit louder, a bit bigger, because the camera and microphone, you lose some of that through your presentation. So when you're practicing, raise your voice, lift up the energy, be a bit more enthusiastic. Maybe before you start, you need to get a bit silly and get a bit hyped up. Really bring the energy, because you lose so much of that through the camera. You want to think about how you open with a powerful and really interesting attention-grabbing hook. That moment when you get people, I say often that you have 7 seconds to grab people's attention on stage. You have even less through a camera. And there's even more distractions around them. So they can easily be looking at their phone. They could easily turn the TV on in the background. Did you do that when you had some sort of digital thing which you were doing, maybe with a work team meeting, and you'd have something on the background, maybe a sports or a race or something like that you could be watching? Because that's what it's like. It's so easy to be distracted from your team meeting. They could easily just leave it on, mute the microphone, turn off the camera, and go and do something else. So you don't want to give them that opportunity. Hook them immediately with a powerful hook. You can use slides, images, videos in your digital presentations. But one thing to remember, if you are going to use any form of multimedia in a digital presentation, you must practice with it first. Because, like we said earlier, you are in a position to lose so much more of your audience if you have a technical issue that you could have resolved beforehand and you haven't practiced with how you're going to use your slides. Am I going to be going like this and leaning over to my computer to move to the next slide? It's distracting. Oh, hold on a minute. Give me a second. This isn't working. And it's just not great for the audience. It's you could lose them in an instant. So if you're going to use an image, a slide, or some sort of multimedia, make sure it's ready to go. You know exactly how it works, and you practice with and without it in case it doesn't work, because things with technology can sometimes just not work. So you want to be able to go with or without it at any given time. So practice both for the best possible result. You want to be able to go, sorry, my slides aren't working. This is what I was talking about in the slide. And just move on and move into it. Really, I like to be able to present without slides. I don't mind images, but slides I find very distracting for the audience and for you. We said earlier on that it's hard to get the audience feedback because of the fact that you're not there in person. But there are ways to engage the audience with interaction. You can ask people to raise their digital hands, and they can do that normally on whatever sort of application they're using, to be able to say yes or no to a question you ask. You can ask 4 questions, so you can get people to actually ask a question, come on to the stream and ask a question, or you can get them to send it in somewhere. You can also ask for polls, people to submit their answers into a poll to get the feedback from the room. So there are ways you could incorporate that sort of audience interaction into your virtual presentation, which brings them in and keeps them engaged. Another thing you can do to show you're really aware of the audience who are connected is to use their names. One of the nice things about these digital presentations is their name is clearly displayed on the screen. So use that to your advantage. Speak to them directly. Get them to give you a question or ask a question. Use their name. If they ask you a question, refer to them by name. Or pick them out of the audience as part of an illustration. Use the name. People love hearing their own name. So when you use it, you really draw people in. And then the rest of the audience go, he's really aware of this audience. I better make sure I'm paying attention. So it's a way to really easily draw people in. So what techniques are there for delivering via a digital presentation? What do we need to be aware of? Well, first of all, the clarity of what we say. You have to remember, like we said earlier, that things can get lost through the microphone. So whereas we might normally, we said, speak with higher energy, we want to make sure that we use our words clearly. We don't want to mumble anything. People's internet connections can be different, and if it lowers the quality of their stream, they might not be able to hear as clearly what you're saying. They might not have as good speakers on whatever device they're using. So we want to make sure that when we speak clearly. Like we said, we've got a microphone that clearly picks up what we say. We don't want to be using the sort of language where we could be mumbling. We don't want to stumble our way through. We want to be clear, concise, and be able to communicate what we're saying to the audience and then be able to guaranteed take it away. We want to vary our vocal variety. Like we said, we don't want to be monotone. We don't want to talk like this, very slow. As we see on the boring slide, this is where we are. It comes across so low through the camera and microphone. We need to bring that energy up. We need to raise it up. Use our volume, use our pitch, use our pace. We don't want to speak monotone or in a low sort of doldrum. We have to bring energy to a virtual performance because it will lose so much through the camera, as we've said. Body language, we sometimes forget about it. Our body language is confined to the square that we're speaking in. Right? This is it. This is all you get. So make sure you raise up your hands and you use your hands, because that movement on the screen attracts the attention of the listener's eye. They are focused on you when they see movement. If I sit here like this and don't move, this is really boring and the audience will be bored and you won't want to stick around because I'm not moving and I'm not using my volume, pitch and pace. It's boring. Just like an in-person presentation, bring the energy, bring the movement. It'll help the audience to stay with you for the majority of what you have to say. We said about eye contact, looking directly into the camera as if it's the eye of the audience. Yes, it feels weird. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but you have to get comfortable looking at the camera lens, just like you have to get comfortable looking at the audience in the eye when you're in the room. You have a lot more eyes to look at, but just imagine you're looking at different members of the audience each time you're staring at the camera. What are some of the common mistakes and pitfalls that we can avoid through sort of giving it a bit of forethought beforehand? Well, here are a couple. We can avoid our technical problems by having a backup plan. Have we gone through what we're going to do if our slides don't work? What about our notes? Have we got our notes on the same device that we're recording the presentation from? We can have too many things on the screen. We can maybe not be able to get our notes up for some reason. So we want to have a backup of our notes on another device, or print them off, write them out, have some other way to access your notes. What about alternative devices? When my webinar went down, like I said, if I had had another laptop set up ready to go, it would have been an easy switch. So can we have a backup device? Can we have if we've got a tablet ready to take over? Might not be exactly what we want, but people will forgive you if you say, I'm really sorry, my laptop crashed, so I'm having to do this from my iPad. Well, people understand that. They're very forgiving. They'll be pleased that you're persevering through the technical hiccups. But you have to be prepared for these things. You can't just hope that it will be okay. So make sure you have alternative options and you have alternative devices and you've thought about what things could go wrong. That way, nothing is going to take you by surprise. We also have to think about that audience distraction. We don't want them to be distracted by different things going on around us. We need to keep our presentation concise. Because we know that the attention span is limited, we have to keep things concise. Recap regularly the takeaways of things we want them to know that they should be writing down as the key points. That's something we need to do. And we want to make it feel personal. Share stories. We're lacking that personal touch because we're not in the room with the person. So make it more personal by sharing our own stories, using your facial expressions to convey to the audience, and remember to smile. It's going to feel weird smiling at a camera sometimes, but honestly, if we practice these things, it makes it easier for us to do when we do turn on the camera. So if you do these things, make sure you practice and you seek feedback, you'll get better at digital presentations. Make sure you go find out what type of speaker you are using that speaker quiz you can find on my website. Let me know any thoughts you have, if any questions, if you have a digital presentation coming up and you are concerned about something, leave me a comment and I will do my best to help you to deliver masterfully through your virtual presentation. I look forward to chatting to you in the next video.